Senate will come back to order. Any privileges of the floor before we get started? Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. President. With us today, we've got a group in the galleries representing our second largest industry, Mr. President. The Wyoming Travel and Hospitality Coalition is here meeting today for the Governor's Tourism Conference. They're joining us today. You know what? They're going to have a party tonight. And you're all invited. It's going to be a big one. I even hear they got the good food, even the expensive stuff. So they're our second largest industry. They work hard. They're our biggest employer. They're our friends. They work with us every day. They provide the money that we play with, and then we're going to talk about. So why don't we give a warm introduction to Wyoming Hospitality Coalition right here.
All right.
Great. Stand up. Let's go. There we go. There you go.
Welcome, everybody. Man, that's a good crowd. Good-looking crowd. Good-looking crowd. Is the Leadership Sheridan team in the house? Yes, they are. Well, I'd like to give a warm Senate welcome to Leadership Sheridan, who is in the gallery. Please stand and be recognized. Wave, everybody. Welcome to the Senate. Okay. Any other privileges? That's it for now. Okay. More House bills on first reading and introduction. House Bill 157, first reading of the bill.
House Bill 157, Protection of Parental Rights, Cause of Action, sponsored by Representative McCann. Aye 55, no 6, excused 1.
House Bill 157 is assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. House Bill 102, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 102, engrossed, Protecting Kids from Deep Fakes and Exploitive Images, sponsored by Representative Lean. Aye 61, excused 1.
House Bill 102 is assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. House Bill 83, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 83, Legislative Subpoena, Penalty, sponsored by Management Audit. Aye 61, excused 1.
House Bill 83 is assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. House Bill 92, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 92, engrossed, Sexual Predators Prohibited from Public Office, sponsored by Representative Lucas. Aye 61, excused 1.
House Bill 92 is assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. House Bill 130, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 130, engrossed, Second Amendment Protection Act amendments, sponsored by Representative Worf. Aye 49, no 2, excused 1.
House Bill 130 is assigned to Committee Number 3, Revenue. House Bill 128, first reading of the House bill.
House Bill 128, enhanced oil recovery severance tax exemption, sponsored by Representative Tarver. Aye 60, no 1, excused 1.
House Bill 128 is assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. House Bill Number 75, first reading of the bill.
House Bill 75, engrossed, virtual currency kiosks, sponsored by Representative Closton. Ayes 56, noes 5, excused 1.
House Bill Number 75 is assigned to Committee Number 9, Minerals. Reports from standing committees.
Mr. President, dated February 23rd, 2026, your committee number 3, Revenue, to whom was referred House Bill 45 engrossed long-term homeowner tax exemption revisions, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senator Stockstetter, ayed, McEwen, Pappas, excused, Senator Case, signed, Senator McEwen, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 23rd, 2026, your favorite committee, number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom was referred House Bill 5, Oil and Gas Bonding Pool Investments and Earnings, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss, signed, Senator Anderson, Chairman. Mr. President, your committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom was referred House Bill 4, Birthing Centers, Medicaid Coverage, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Brennan, Hutchings, Scott, Steinmetz, excused, Senator Crum, signed, Senator Brennan, Chairman. Standing Committee Report, Your committee number 2 on appropriations has reviewed House Bill 1 pursuant to Joint Rule 14-1E Romanettes 1 and 2. The following list are provided. Dispensing with further reading, signed Senator Salazar, Chairman.
In accordance with Joint Rule 14-1F, House Bill 1 is referred directly to third reading. And who says we don't listen to Tom when he's giving his reports? We caught that. Good job. Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Absent objection, I would like to re-refer House Bill 117, Stop Harm, Empower Women with Informed Notices, to the Health Committee.
Hearing no objection, House Bill 117 is re-referred to committee number 10. All right. Bill's on third reading and final passage. Senate File 25, third reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 25, Landowner License Limits in Limited Quota Hunt Areas, an act relating to game and fish, sponsored by Travel.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read the amendment?
Senate File 25, third reading, amendment number 1, delete the Senate.
Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, I would like to move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 25 and ask for your favorable consideration. What this amendment does is deletes the standing committee amendment stating that under no circumstances can 0 landowner licenses in a limited quota area be issued. This is simply unacceptable. The reason for this bill is to give the commission the ability to cap landowner licenses in limited quota areas, where currently 100% of the licenses are used by landowners. I agree with the notion that the commission needs the ability to provide public hunting opportunities. I could not let this bill leave the Senate without trying once again to speak on behalf of both entities, the landowner and the public hunter. Therefore, this amendment, which reads, after area on page 2, line 10, insert when deemed necessary to maintain the public hunting opportunity, provided that is not less than 50% of the hunting licenses in a limited quoted hunt area shall be made available to landowners. The remaining licenses that are not issued to landowners shall revert to the limited quota hunt area to be purchased by the public. This amendment has the ability for the commission to cap landowners not less than 50%, which in turn could give 50% of tags currently not available back to the public. Why the 50%? This is a number that supports both entities and would be an easy split, as landowners currently receive 2 of each species. So in the event the commission decides this is necessary, 1 would go to the landowner, 1 to the public. Let's support both the landowner who provides habitat for the wildlife and the public hunter who desires the opportunity to enjoy it. Please vote aye.
Discussion on the amendment. Okay, Senator Hicks, go first.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate my colleagues' tenacity, but there's a rationale in here when we looked at this, and when you talk to the commission and you talk to the agency and sponsor, the trouble with setting a floor of just 50% is, so let's use antelope, for example. Every single antelope permit in the state of Wyoming is in a limited quota area. And so when you look at that, the department goes through a public process of setting those quotas, but within those quotas, there's also a process of how those landowner tags go out. But when you're in eastern Wyoming and it's 80 or 90% private land, this is probably not enough, and they could certainly go over that. But when you come to western Wyoming and you're dealing with units that are 90 to 100% public land, but yet you have enough eligible landowners in there to get every single one of those landowner tags, that's why it's physically impossible to take a broad brush across every single antelope unit, 1/3 of all the elk units, and maybe 20% of all the deer units in the state of Wyoming, and say, y'all getting 50-50, because the landowner distribution in every single one of those limited quota units is different. And not only is the land ownership different, you can have 90% private, 10% public in eastern Wyoming, and you can have 90% public and 10% private in western Wyoming, but there's so few permits in some of these. You get to western Wyoming, 100% of those landowner permits are gonna go to landowners. And we've had that happen just a couple of years ago in my area. And so I've always been supportive of the concept, folks, but the devil's in the details on this. And this doesn't get to the detail. This is a broad brush solution to a complicated problem. And so there's no equity when you just say across the board, 50% of the permits go to one group or another, because it's not the same in eastern Wyoming as it is in western Wyoming. And so you have to allow the commission, and the bill that we've already passed out, or the bill that we're about to pass out of here, I hope, basically leaves that discretion to the commission based on every single unit in the state of Wyoming. They'll set a quota, they go out and they go through a public hearing process. The public weighs in on that. The department then takes that to commission. They'll make a recommendation. There's another opportunity for the public to weigh in on that. And then they're gonna set the quotas. So also keep in mind, when they set a quota of 50 in a unit, the very first permit comes out of there are resident landowners. So they get those permits. The next quota comes down, it's non-resident landowners, and they slowly whittle that pool away. And that's why in some cases where you have very limited number of permits and limited quota areas, that there is no publicly available licenses in some of those units, and that has occurred. And so you can't do the broad brush, and I appreciate my colleague. It's a complex thing, and I'm gonna be, just for public disclosure, I get landowner license. I've got landowner license for 25 years and served on the Wildlife Task Force, and we grappled with this issue. This is not the way we need to do it. The bill lets it back to the agency to be able to start doing that currently. They do not have the statutory authority to do this. This would give them the opportunity to start moving in this direction. And so on and against the amendment.
Further discussion? Senator Scott.
Mr. President, yeas and nays, please.
Okay.
Mr. President, I do think this is being too restrictive compared to the bill as it stands right now against the amendment.
Okay. Further discussion on the amendment, Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and for the amendment. Appreciate the bringer and bringing it. It's clear to me that this issue has not been resolved by our Game and Fish Commission. It's up to this body to help provide direction, and I think that's unfortunate, but the reality is we're stuck with painting with a broad brush no matter what. The question is, if we have the bill as stands, which takes it to the lowest possible threshold, or floor, if you will, for landowner licenses, or are we going to do a little bit more down the middle with 50%? And I struggle with this as a member of the TRW committee because it's so completely different from my experience as a landowner, where hunters and landowners get along just fine. But you get down here, you get in these committee meetings and we're butting heads. It's been really unfortunate, and I think it demonstrates how politics doesn't always represent how we treat each other in real life. I think that we can make some progress by taking a more even-handed approach. This amendment splits things right down the middle. That's about as even, I think, as you can get, and then we can continue to have the discussion, given the fact that, if I was on the Game and Fish Commission, I probably would have handled it a completely different way. But we're not. They've struggled to come up with a solution to this issue, and here we are. So on for the amendment, I think that it's just about as even-handed as you can get with a 50-50 split, and then we can continue the discussion later. I'm sure we will. But I really hope that we can begin to, whether it's a ag committee bill or a travel bill, we can begin to sort of come together a little bit, because we have sort of diverging interests even among whatever committee happens to be taking on this issue. I think that hopefully this amendment can bring us a little bit more together, and it's something I could certainly support the bill if this amendment passes.
Thank you, Senator Boner. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored for this amendment as well. It is a tough issue. We dealt with it in the Ag Committee as well. But I think the way the bill as it stands is going the wrong direction for property rights. And this amendment helps to fix that. And without that amendment, I don't think I can support the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. President. I obviously support it because my name's on it. But a good discussion, and I get it from the senator down there towards Bags, I get it, I understand it. But the legislature said not less than 0, which was a concern for me. I think we need a floor. We can look at this, and like I said the other day, we're gonna be here in less than 11 months. Yay. We can look at it, see what the Game and Fish is proposing. So I fully stand in support of this.
Anybody else before the sponsor? Seeing none, wish to go again, Senator Pearson, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's not really much else to say. I mean, we all have differing opinions on this. I'm trying to, I want to put a floor on this because currently 100% of these licenses in some of these areas are being given to the landowners. This is giving 50% of those tags back to the public. I mean, regardless of, and I have to disagree with my colleague, a lot of the land in our area that is perceived as public, much of it is private. So I would just ask that you support this amendment, and let's support both entities and try to make this a little bit easier for our commission to figure out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. The ayes and nays have been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 1, the Senate File 25. The chief clerk will please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 1, roll call. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? Aye. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings?
Excused.
Ide? I, Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? I, Love? I, McEwen? I, Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? No. Pearson? I, Rothfuss? No. Salazar? I, Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? I, President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Hutchings excused. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On the amendment, 11 aye, 19 no, 1 excused.
Third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 25 has failed. We are back on the bill. Discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall Senate File 25, landowner license limits and limited quota hunting areas, pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 25. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? No. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? No. French? No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings excused. Aye. No. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. Love? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Driscoll, no to aye. Salazar, no to aye. Larson? No to aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 25, 23 aye, 7 no, 1 excused.
Senate File 25, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 25 has passed the Senate. Senate File 50, third reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 50, State Engineer Surface and Groundwater Study, an act relating to water, sponsored by Senator Love.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
Senate File 50, third reading, amendment number 1, page 2, line 2.
Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 50. Ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. President and good members, when we were reviewing this bill in committee and in discussing it with our good state engineer and also with the sponsor, we thought that the scope of the study might be a little bit narrow. It wasn't really looking at the effect of our current controls. And so all this amendment does is expand the scope of the study to include how the current controls are working as well as looking forward. And so that's all the amendment does. Ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Love.
On and for the amendment, Mr. President. This is something that we discussed. It's just cleaning it up and make sure its objective is exactly where it needs to be to help everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 50. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I kind of struggled with this bill. I appreciate the bringer of the bill. He worked hard on this. I was a no vote in committee, just kind of wanted to explain that. Taxpayer-funded research studies for water could restrict water rights to water rights holders, and it kind of paves the way for that potentially. And it could potentially pave the way for further property rights infringements with a taxpayer-funded study. So, with that, the appropriation started out at $250,000 and it got bumped up to $500,000. And those are the reasons why I'm on and against this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else? Senator Love.
Mr. President, thank you. The reason for this bill is that this body and the one down the hallway several years ago passed a bill that required a study be done by the engineer's office. That study was done and did put and impose controls on an area and limit water rights and water availability to this community and several surrounding communities. This study is an update that was recommended at the time of that original study. And so we're trying to maybe set the record in a little better position by allowing the state engineer to gather the data needed to correct the controls and update the information that we've already required of them once prior. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none? You ready for the question? Question being called by myself. We're voting on Senate File 50. Senate File 50 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 50. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings excused? Aye. No. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Biteman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 50, 29 aye, 1 no, 1 excused.
Senate File 50, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 50 has passed the Senate. Senate File 66, third reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 66, donated hunting licenses amendments, an act relating to game and fish, sponsored by Senator French.
There's an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
Senate File 66, third reading, amendment number 1, delete.
Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment deletes the second reading amendment entirely. That was Senator Larson's amendment last week, I believe it was. He made some good comments in there in his amendment. The Disabled Hunters Group in my district, who brought the original bill with the amendments, reached out to me and said they didn't want that, those amendments. I said, what do you want? They said, we'd like our original bill. That's why I come up with this, to delete that. And which brings, by deleting the Larson amendments entirely, it brings it back to the original bill, which they sponsored through me. So I guess I can't really say much more. This body has voted on that original wording a couple times now. They testified on Zoom before the committee. The director of Game and Fish, Angie Bruce, was good with it. The committee voted it out 5-0, back to the floor here. So I'm just going with what they want. And if they want it, I'm not gonna argue with them. So this amendment brings it back to the original bill. Thank you.
Can you move the amendment, please? Senator French, you didn't move the amendment. Can you move
I'm
it?
sorry, I moved third reading, number 1 to Senate File 66.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would ask the body to resist this amendment proposal. I think what I brought was pretty good wording. I did have a handout. If you want to grab it, you can read it with me. But I did work with the department that regulates fish to ask what their thoughts were. Currently, I was hoping they could do it through rules, and they said they could not bring this in through rules. So that's why I'm bringing it, and I do have, you know, a gentleman up in my area that did this in Texas, and he could donate his license to somebody that has terminal illness, and then they could go hunt with the Department of Fish, with their doing their rules. So I don't think it hurts the bill at all. It does just add terminal illness to it. It deletes the bottom portion that might confuse people, and that bottom portion I striked out because I think it's redundant. I did tie it down a little bit more than the paragraph above, where the commission can actually sell licenses to these organizations. And in their wording above, it said life-threatening and serious illness. I tightened it up a little bit and said terminal illness, where, you know, they might only have 6 months to live or something, whereas the other might be more than 6 months. But I'd ask for your resistance to his amendment.
Further discussion before the sponsor? Anybody else before the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, Senator French for your second time. Sorry, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple comments. You know, a local group from Cody, Wyoming reached out to me, not somebody from Texas. That's the main thing. You know, the good senators taking advice from somebody from Texas. I'm taking advice from somebody from Cody in the state of Wyoming. And for to say that Game and Fish has some issue with it, the Game and Fish director, Angie Bruce, testified in front of the committee that she was good with this bill. So I don't know what else to say. I hope you will adopt my amendment.
Let's refrain from using names on the floor, please.
Sorry.
You're welcome. Okay, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1, the Senate File 66. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. My ears aren't tuned in that well. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. (22) All those opposed? Less than 22. Third reading amendment number 1, the Senate File 66 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Senate File 66 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass the Senate? Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 66. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crump? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings excused? Aye. Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Biden?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 66, 30 aye, 1 excused.
Senate File 66, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 66 has passed the Senate. Senate File 81, third reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 81, K through 12 Public School Finance 2, an act relating to K through 12 public school finance, sponsored by Recalibration.
There are amendments. Would the reading clerk please read in the first amendment?
Senate File 81, third reading, Amendment Number 1, page 5, line 2.
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I move adoption of this amendment. Mr. President, let me make a few general remarks about the bill that this is amending. Recalibration bill, one I think it's absolutely essential that we pass. It's been too long since we did it, and we're in trouble over it. The recalibration bills came to us, increased our spending $54 million in the first year of the biennium. 102.3 is what I'm now told for the second year of the biennium. That's a substantial increase, Mr. President, and I'm told that it catches us up with what we need to catch up to in inflation so that we can pay market salaries and all that sort of thing. The standing committee, which this is amending, went and put a bunch more spending on another 70 million in the biennium with the standing committee amendments. And Mr. Chairman, what these amendments I've got is trying to do is to remove some of the extra spending from the standing committee and go back in those areas to the recalibration bills that came before us. This amendment deals with middle schools where we're going back to 20% of the core teachers, whereas the standing committee amendment took our middle school teachers to 33% of 33 1/3% of the core. Its cost is, I understand, 10 million extra for a year, or 20 million a biennium. And Mr. Chairman, on all of these, if I thought we were going to do a lot of good, improve the quality of the education that our children got, I would be very much for what the standing committee had done. But frankly, Mr. Chairman, from what we've seen in the range of spending that we have here in Wyoming, which is really quite good, we are not seeing any correlation between extra spending and improved education. We have some problems in our system. They're problems, they're management problems. They're not shortage of money. So I don't think we are buying anything extra other than we're making some constituents happy that are going to get the increases. Now, that we will be doing. But I don't think we're doing anything for the education of our children with what the standing committee proposed to do to a very good recalibration bill before us. So I urge us to adopt my amendment, reduce the spending a bit, go back to what the recalibration bill had, because it was very well done, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on and against the amendment, and that's going to be mostly a running theme. Mr. President, a lot of compromise and a lot of thought has gone into where the bill is at now, and obviously there was a tremendous amount of work during the interim through recalibration to put the bill in the place that it was. There was time out between recalibration and when we got to session where we took a tremendous amount of feedback. The Joint Education Committee took a look at that feedback, had a lot of discussions with other senators, stakeholders, and tried to put together a few changes that addressed those concerns. So where we see the bill right now, it is fully constitutional. It meets, although, again, not perhaps to the degree of all stakeholders, it meets the interests that we've heard. And I would encourage the body to stand with the bill as it is right now, send a good, high-quality bill down to the other chamber that we can defend, that we know is constitutional. And that's why I would urge you to reject this particular change. Again, this is a change where we heard substantial feedback. Where we are at with the education bill, or excuse me, the amendment that came out of education, recalibration bill as it stands right now, is consistent with existing statute. We rejected years ago the recommendation of the consultants to decrease or to utilize a 20% factor for middle school because we value band, CTE, and other elective classes in middle school. That was a choice we made. This would reverse that choice that we made, and I would encourage the body to stick with the Education Committee. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment. Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would just ask that the body reject this amendment. The recalibration committee worked very hard over the summer. We listened and listened, and then we listened some more. And we really took a lot of things into consideration, and then we were able, those of us that were on it in the education committee, were really able to really fine tune the things that we heard over the interim to amend this to really a great bill. So I would just ask that we just send out what we have currently, which is a great product.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then for those of you that hadn't really maybe looked into the bill, basically what this does is it takes the middle school grade bands from 20% to 33 1/3, and with the good senator's amendment, it takes it back. So basically, the good senator from Albany County hit the nail on the head. This is what would affect your middle school band, your middle school CTE, your middle school PE, your middle school music, I mean, on and on and on. And we need those electives for those middle school kids. They're still trying to figure out what they want to do, what they want to be, where they want to go. It's the same band that we use with our same FTE band that we use for our high school. So I would ask you to defeat this.
Further discussion on the amendment. Back to you, Senator Scott, for your second time.
Mr. President, I urge you to vote for the amendment and go back to the recalibration bill. Recalibration bill was very well done. It meets the needs that there really are out there. And, Mr. President, this is ongoing expenses. We are very fortunate right now to have a blip in our resources because of how well we did in the stock market on our permanent funds. But that's one-time money. It's unlikely to reoccur in the degree to which it did this year. We were very fortunate, Mr. President. And this, yeah, you can say it's only 10 million, but 10 million here, 10 million there, pretty quick. you're adding up the real money that results in tax increases. So let's stand by our recalibration committee. They did an excellent job, Mr. President. Let's go restore their work. Vote aye.
Okay, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 81. All those in favor say aye. Okay, yeas and nays have been called. Roll call vote. Chief Clerk, please call the roll. Senator Case requested the yeas and nays.
Third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 81. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings, excused, ayed. Aye. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? No. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote? Landon, aye to no. Larson? Aye to no. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. On the amendment, 5 aye, 25 no, 1 excused.
Third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 81 has failed. Third reading amendment number 2. Would the reading clerk please read it in?
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 2, page 10, line 21.
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I can count. I ask this amendment be withdrawn.
Absent objection, third reading amendment number 2 has been withdrawn. Third reading amendment number 3. The reading clerk please read in the amendment.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 3, page 36, lines 3 and 4.
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, same comment. I ask it be withdrawn.
Absent objection, third reading amendment number 3 has been withdrawn. Third reading amendment number 4.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 4, page 1, line 6.
Senator Rothfuss.
Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 4 to Senate File 81 and ask the body's favorable consideration. Mr. President, this amendment gets to the mandate of the EGI insurance plan and effectively repeals that mandate. It was clear that the body was very interested in this. We put in position through the Education Committee a compromise to study it. I think it was clear that that was insufficient. So this amendment effectively repeals that mandate, but let's be clear about how it does it. It repeals the mandate, but it provides actual reimbursement for premiums paid by the school districts for their FTEs, for their employees, up to a limit of the number of FTEs employed times the cost of the employee group insurance. So there's a cap on it. I'm going to repeat that one more time. So it's the actual premiums paid by the district up to the state plan, EGI plan, times the number of FTEs. So it doesn't provide for any additional funds carried to the district except for the first year. The first year we just go with the EGI limit times the number of FTEs, because it's hard to get the data, it'll take a little while. So that's a change from where we're at right now. We would be studying it and then requiring everyone to go on the EGI plan after 2 years. That's the current situation, and this removes that mandate, but it doesn't provide for the carryover of the funding. And Mr. President, I'd be happy to answer any questions on that, but this is at the request of the chamber, and I appreciate the good input and discussion that we've had.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering if we have any kind of fiscal note associated with this as far as increased expenditures if we adopt this, or what's the net associated with this versus where we're currently at?
Further discussion, Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the work of the committee going back and taking a look at the insurance again. This one's complicated. So we look at it though, with my district, I ultimately lose about 1.8 million, and that's a concern. So our efforts to eliminate the insurance mandate altogether and let these districts make their decision, that goes away technically. So I'll be withdrawing my support from this amendment and simply giving it a no and oppose it at this point, because it doesn't do what we want it to do, just to eliminate the insurance requirement altogether.
Thank you. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. To answer the good Senator's question from Baggs, it probably will save money. I don't think all the school districts will love this, even though they didn't love the mandate either. So I don't know that we can say this is a compromise, really. And that's why, obviously, the next amendment, which depending on how this goes, I may toss it or I might keep it. But the idea was we just didn't have a lot of data to understand really were we saving anything by moving everybody over? I know it took the districts a lot of their local control away, and nobody really likes that. And so what this does, it just basically says, that we're only going to pay for those people that are on the insurance. And this is kind of a tough one because I know that there are districts that have people that are not on their insurance, their teachers maybe, and their spouses maybe work at the mines or, at a coal mine or wherever, and they're funded for that. And so this amendment will take that away. And so it'll only, take care of the people that are actually using the insurance. So it's kind of one of those things where, it could be good for some districts, it might not be so good for others, but it does, put the local control back in the hands of the school districts. Some people might like that, some districts might not. It kind of depends, just as the good senator back here from Star Valley mentioned. So, vote your conscience on this. Thank you.
Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, you can imagine why we haven't had a recalibration for a long time. To keep this boat together and then to pass a bill is quite a feat. I support the amendment. As I said the other day, it's the best that we could get. But I do know that if we don't pass a recalibration bill, that is going to be a tragedy. I don't like everything in the recalibration bill. I don't like some of these amendments are tough. But I think we have a product here that we can all support to some extent and still get it past both chambers. So I support this amendment. I think it keeps us together. I have no illusions that we're all going to be jumping up and down on this recalibration bill. But maybe in a sense that shows that maybe it is the right product that we're bringing, because it is a conclusion where at least all of us or most of us can come to an agreement that this is what's best for the state. So on in support of the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm for the amendment. I think we need to be focused on what makes sense for the state, what's the right thing to do. Clearly, there's going to be school districts that are gonna find something to complain about, no matter what we do. The question is that a rational policy to pay for health insurance for employees who are not taking up health insurance? I don't think it is. I think this is a good policy. It removes the requirement, and it gets us back to a little bit more fiscal responsibility of making sure the block grant's being used for the things the block grant's supposed to be used for. So at the end of the day, they're gonna spend this however they want. At the end of the day, regardless of whether we pass this or not, it's still a significant increase in funding for our school districts. So, I urge caution against, always wanting to appease one group of people who's always going to be opposed to the sizable change we make, even though the net benefit is significant for our school districts throughout here for this bill. So for that reason, I hope you can support the amendment.
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, yeas and nays, please.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, on and for the amendment.
Okay, anybody else? Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to make it crystal clear, it's the insurance for the ghost teachers. We're taking that out, and we're taking out the mandate. So it's just the actual expenses now. It will be the second year. The first year, it's the actual number of FTEs, but thank you.
Thank you. Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and for this amendment, I think we're clear on what this does, but this takes, and I think this good, just look at the health insurance. Right now, we just give schools money into that block grant for their health insurance. What this says is we're gonna help pay for those premiums. We're gonna pay for those premiums, but only for those teachers that actually take the health insurance. But we're not gonna make you go on to the state plan, so you can keep the insurance that you like. We'll provide up to what we would with the state insurance. And so this is just really a good way to go about tackling the insurance and the ghost teachers.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Back to the sponsor for your second time, Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to answer one outstanding question about the fiscal impact of this, the cost can't exceed what the current bill has, but could come in slightly below it depending on choices made by districts in the second year. And then regarding flexibility, this provides full flexibility, whereas the current draft after 2 years would not provide full flexibility. With that, I call for the question, Mr. President.
Thank you. The yeas and nays have been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 4 to Senate File 81. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 4, Anderson. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Boner. Aye. Brennan. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Crago. Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstetter. No. Driscoll. Aye. French. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings excused. Aye. Aye. Jones. Aye. Cole. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. Aye. Love. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Olson. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Pearson. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. President Beitman.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Third reading amendment number 4. 29 aye, 1 no, 1 excused.
Third reading amendment number 4 to Senate File 81 has been adopted. Third reading amendment number 5.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 5, page 101 after line 22.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would request that third reading amendment number 5 to Senate File 81 be withdrawn.
Hearing no objection, third reading amendment number 5 has been withdrawn. Third reading amendment number 6.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 6, page 43, line 13.
Senator Dockstetter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move third reading amendment number 6 to Senate File 81. Members of the Senate, under this proposal, the formula decides what is the best for the school district, the WCLI, or the rebased Hedonic Wage Index, the greater of the two. That's what the decision is. It'll take the greater of the two. It allows the WCLI to make a broader approach, benefits the most right out of the gate, I'll just tell you, it benefits the most expensive county by 2%, and then, going forward, allows all other areas that have high expenses, have a high cost of living to benefit from this. This formula allows us to make the call. The formula makes the call. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-sponsor and let him further explain.
Senator Guru, I am sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Mr. President. The committee came up with a very artful solution to this problem, and the best they could do as far as trying to figure out in the regional cost adjustment to try to balance the cost of living. And while it will work in the short term, the concern in my area is what happens in years 2 and 3. The Hedonic Wage Index and the WCLI really don't take into account, because of an oddity of where we live, the cost of housing. It's the same problem that we talk about a lot here in the place where I live. We've got too little dirt and too many people who want it, and you can't break the law of supply and demand, and so the price just goes up. And so what this contemplates, what this amendment contemplates, is to allow each school district to decide which is better for them in a regional cost adjustment, the Hedonic or the WCLI. And all I can tell you is that it's a problem in my community today. It'll affect a county south of me in another year. And in 5 years, it'll affect 3 or 4 more of you. And as we go along, it'll build and build. And so what this does is just allow each district to do what we always talk about, Mr. President, and that is to allow them to make their own decision and to do what's best for them at that moment in time. That's all this does. Today, it really does affect just one school district. But as we move forward, just like has happened here, Mr. President, so many times, you know, one county comes up with an idea about a 6-penny tax, now it's available all across the state. One community comes up with a lodging tax, nobody else wanted it, now it's available all across the state. And in preference to this argument, in this discussion, we were the county who came up with redistributing funds and equalization of funds, when we were the county that were receiving them, and now today we spend the most giving the money out. So things change, but one thing is certain, we always keep that local control. On and for the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussions? Senator Salazar, you are up first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I truly respect my friends here who are bringing this. I would like the floor to know, though, that this does increase the price tag for recalibration. And every time we do that, we put in doubt a little more whether we're going to be able to get this past the goal line. So I just want the floor to know that there is an increase in this, so.
Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would ask you to resist this amendment because this process went through the entire recalibration effort, where very expensive consultants to come in here, they provide this information. So let's talk about what the Hedonic Wage Index is. And what it's calculated to do is say there's other components as far as teacher salaries and the ability to attract teachers sometimes than just wage. So let me use an example of some place like maybe Baggs, Wyoming. Really, really difficult to try to get people to come to these rural communities. The flip side of that is the Hedonic Wage Index would look at, say, what do these other communities have and amenities that it takes to attract and retain teachers, like ski areas and movie theaters and bowling alleys and restaurants and all these other amenities out there. And all that goes into that Hedonic Wage Index, and it comes back and it says, Okay, this is an equalization. So the reason that the committee adopted it, and the reason we always looked at it, is try to do an equalization. But if you adopt this amendment, what you effectively done is said, we're going to skew the wage index to 2 counties within the state of Wyoming. And it does exactly what the chairman of the Appropriations Committee and the recal is. It's going to increase cost. I think what they did was right. It looked at equity and parity for all those 48 school, how many school districts we have out there, and tries to come up with an equitable distribution of funding for those school districts. So I would really encourage you to resist this amendment.
Further discussion, Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and against the amendment as well as the next three. Mr. President, again, we spent a lot of time during the interim through recalibration working on this and coming up with a system, and we even did put in a little relief valve for when your WCLI gets too high above the hedonic wage index, it starts to bump it up. And that relief valve was the intended compromise for exactly this type of situation. I understand that it may not feel sufficient to all parties, but a lot of work went into it, and I'd ask you to respect that work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On and against the amendment, I think I'm going to stand with all the work that was done during the interim. I thought a lot of good thought was put into this. Holistically, I think we have a good package. Please resist this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Anybody else before the sponsor? Senator Guru, would you like to go one more time?
I'll go once and then let the sponsor, my co-sponsor go. First, I'd like to say, I think that I doubt very seriously that the town down in my friend down there in the southern part of the state has any problem getting teachers. It's the most beautiful town I've ever seen. And, you know, the fact that I don't live here is just because he does live here, and I could never be elected to this body if he moved to that town. So I have a hard time with that one. And I admit freely that the committee did an awesome job. They really did. And I don't, you know, vote it up, vote it down. They did do a great job, and I commend them. My point, and to the question about how much this costs, yes, it does. It will increase the cost. I think, and this is a guess because from the staff, not from me, but about $500,000. That's all we're talking about right now. Now, will it go up and down over the time? Probably go up a bit. So not a deep cost. But unfortunately, in my community, the community that I represent, it's a fine line, and we're always fighting it. And the costs are just so astronomically high. And whether it's wages, rents, all goes back to the fact that just the property values are so high and they go so fast. And for our school district, for my constituents and the folks that are running our schools, they're constantly having to work this battle. So that's why, yes, it's a small indulgence that I'm asking. Yes, it's something that wasn't in the mix, but I am asking because of that. And like I say, the problem that's happening with us today is a problem that will be happening with you tomorrow, because every community in this state is great, every community in this state is growing, and that's why you're gonna need it.
Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Senator Greer. He said on and for, just for the record. Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the discussion, Nora. No, we don't disregard all the work that went into this bill. This doesn't do that. But isn't our responsibility to take care of all the districts across the state with this bill? We take care of the small folks that struggle. There's no financial support, and we make sure that they have schools in their community, sometimes just a few miles apart. And we pay large amounts of money to make sure that those small districts are taken care of. We have a challenging situation with some districts that are now we found to be a very popular place to live in the state, which is driving up the cost. And that affects our ability to bring teachers in and to take care of what we need to take care of. This balances us out a little bit. We take care of the small districts, and we should be taking care of the districts that have these challenges. On and for the amendment.
Yeas and nays have been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 6 to Senate File 81. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 6, roll call. Anderson? No. No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. No. Brennan? No. No. Case? No. No. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? No. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? No. No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. No. Hutchings excused? Aye. No. No. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. Love? No. McEwen? No. No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salzar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Biteman?
No.
No. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Third reading amendment number 6. 88 aye, 22 no, 1 excused.
Third reading amendment number 6 has failed. Third reading amendment number 7.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 7, page 8 after line 2.
Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move third reading amendment number 7 to Senate File 81. Ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. President, this particular amendment has to do with our smallest schools. So there was a standing committee amendment that addressed sort of a hold harmless for our small school districts. And if there's a handout on each of your desks you should have. And those small school districts have a little note beside them, and they're in Park County, Sheridan County, and Washakie County. There are also 5 additional schools that would qualify for the hold harmless that are not independent school districts, but are co-located K through 12 schools that are really out in the middle of nowhere. One of them happens to be in my town, in my district, which would be in Johnson County. There's another one in Natrona County, another one in Platte County, Albany, and Carbon. And the thing that's interesting about all these schools and why they're all small K through 12 is because they're all a long ways from anywhere else. And so what we're doing with this amendment, Mr. President, is asking that they be treated the same as the small school districts so that they are held harmless. And you can see there's a list over there, sort of in, not just a little past midway on that sheet that shows you how many teachers, FTEs, they will be short without this particular hold harmless. And so it ranges from almost 5 teachers, which is a lot in a K-12 school. That means instead of having 17 teachers, they will have 12, a little over 12, all the way down to one short, not quite 1 teacher, which would be doable. I think they can probably make that work. But the rest of them, that's going to be really difficult. And because of their distance from their other schools within the district, it's hard to share teachers, it's hard to share staff. So this is really an attempt to treat them the same as the small independent districts. The total cost of this, Mr. President, the 3 that we already protected through the amendment was about 1.1 million. This would be a little over 1.2 million to get the rest of them on an annual basis. A small piece in an already very large expenditure. Ask for your favorable consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. On and against the amendment. And again, we had good conversation about this, and I am sympathetic to the concerns, but when we worked through the math, typically these school districts have hired teachers at roughly the number or even slightly less than what the model will end up providing. The teachers we're looking at on this list are typically excluding some of the teachers that the school will generate that aren't their core teachers. So there's additional resources that are potentially available. At the same time, the school districts are large enough that they can accommodate the need for additional teachers as is appropriate, right? This is again a block grant for the instructional classification going to the districts so that they could move resources over as necessary. Because of all that, when we were considering this particular amendment, we decided to go to the district minimum instead, recognizing that those districts couldn't possibly manage the shortfall, where the larger districts, mine included, can manage that shortfall appropriately. So that was why the decision was made to not spend the full 2.5 million, but to go with the 1.1 million. And again, Mr. President, I'd ask you to support the Education Committee's decision on that.
Discussion, Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Completely understand why my friend brings this amendment. I will simply say this, again, it is $1 million a year added to recalibration. And again, I will make the same pitch before. I really would like to see this recalibration get past the goal line, and it's something that we can do, but as the price goes up, I believe the chances decrease.
Further discussion? Anybody else before the sponsor? Back to you, Senator Craigo, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. And to the comments, appreciate the comments from the good senator from across the hill. I mean, I actually thought about, because there probably are 2 districts on this particular list in 2 counties that are big. There are 3 that are not. There are 3 that probably can't afford this. There are 2 that could. And one being across the hill, the other one in the center of the state. But I can tell you, for example, my district in the school in Johnson County, they will be short teachers. They are over that number, and they're over the 17 right now, and they will be under that by now, and they'll have to pull resources from an already small district in the capital of our county, the county seat, to send down there to make that happen. And so that's what we're trying to address, is these small rural schools, make sure they have equal opportunity for education as the schools everywhere else, and including the smaller school districts, which I have one of those too on this list. Obviously, we come from a very rural part of the state. And so I need to represent those folks in rural Wyoming, and that's what I'm trying to do, and would appreciate your vote, and I call for the ayes and the nays.
Okay. Ayes and nays haven't been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 7 to Senate File 81. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 7, roll call. Anderson. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Boner. No. Brennan. No. Case. No. Cooper. Aye. Craigo. Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstetter. No. Driscoll. Aye. French. No. Guru. No. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings, excused, aye. No. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. Love? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? Aye. Pappas? No. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Third reading amendment number 7, 9 aye, 21 no, 1 excused.
Third reading amendment number 7 has failed. Third reading amendment number 8.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 8, page 42, lines 4 through 11.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 8, Senate File 81, and ask for your consideration. Let's just get it out of the way. My senator behind me wants you to resist this, and we're going to have the ayes and the nays.
Okay.
2 things out of the way. So the question is I used to represent 2 counties and had 2 different districts and made friends with lots of other districts. You've heard this
probably if you've been visiting with your school districts, and I'm sure that the good recalibration committee that did all this good work, by the way, this is draft 0486, so hasn't been out there on the street that long because their work continued up until about 4 weeks ago. They wonder why we keep getting into local control. So the next two amendments, this one is on superintendent limitations of salary. The next one will be on another topic. What the nexus to that is, where is the nexus at? What is the explanation? Is there evidence that, in this case, superintendents are being paid at a rate that is exorbitant? And the way I read this, actually, we could have every superintendent being paid the same regardless of, based on their teacher salaries, regardless of how big the district is. Seems there has to have some level of opportunity for the districts to actually value those executives appropriately for the size of the district. And this seems to take that away, at least my looking at the pure formula of 233.3 of the average teacher salary. I don't think we're going to have that big of a range of teacher salaries across the state in our 48 school districts. So where in the crew report do we see this as being a trouble or troublesome? If there is, I'm glad to hear it. But if we can't point to that, or some other report, we can't point to that, then why don't we just leave this with our local boards that we elect? Most of them, all of them in my district, got more votes than I did to be here in this seat. So where is that evidence that there's something challenging here? I get it, that we want to rein something back, but what's the evidence this is being abused in some way by our local districts? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Barlow. Discussion. Senator Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. I wasn't going to stand on this issue, but I wanted to thank the senator for at least bringing this up. The other day, I asked our vice president, I said, like the old saying says, is the juice really worth the squeeze on this one? I've gotten to know the superintendents in my district pretty well over the last few years, the last 3 of them. And each one of them told me that that was the toughest job they've ever had in their lives. 365 days a year and about 12 to 15 hours every day. And now it's even worse because you have to go to those school board meetings all the time. I just, in my neck of the woods, we have a superintendent who oversees thousands of kids and hundreds of teachers. And if you take a comparable company out there on the private market and you take that size, and I guess I'd probably challenge you to find that we're paying that position less than what we pay a superintendent. Now, we may have superintendent issues, and we can take those up as we go along. I've wondered for a long time about how many superintendents we have, but to do this, I appreciate the good senator from Campbell County bringing this for us to at least scratch our head for a minute. Yeah, I think superintendents do make quite a bit, but think about this district, which is comparable to the one that I just described to you where I live. They went out to try to find a superintendent, and they've got, 12 schools or more, and hundreds of teachers and thousands of students. They had trouble attracting candidates for this job here. Who wants to do it? We talk all the time about free market. We love free market, supply, demand. What's the demand and what's the, So I don't know. I think I'm in favor of this amendment. I don't understand why we're zeroing in on this deal here. Thank you.
Let's see, a lot of people popping up. Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Definitely appreciate the ability to have the debate. But again, I would just echo what has been said, is that I would just ask the body to resist this amendment. When we sat down with what is a primary goal that we want for recalibration, it was that we want our dollars going directly to the classroom. And the concern is where do those dollars go and where are they getting? And this was part of that, just making sure that things are going directly to the classroom. Yes, superintendents do have difficult job, but again, we want to make sure that those dollars go directly to affecting the kids and in the classroom. So I would ask that we resist this amendment.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, first a question for some of the folks on recalibration, and it's in a roundabout way to try to answer my colleague from Campbell County's question. And so 5 years ago, when we went through recalibration, we looked at that. And if you go to the CREW report, it'll show you on an average statewide basis where the districts really blow up the model. And at that time, what we saw is so the one place that was more than 100%, so 100% is average, that's what's in the model, it was superintendent salaries. And they were way above anything else in the model as far as the percentage above what the model actually calculates. Keep in mind that the model is in that number generated for those salaries is based on the consultant that looks at, again, what's the market value of a superintendent, not against a municipality or something else. What's a superintendent making in Nebraska? What's one making in South Dakota? What's one making in Montana? What's one making in Utah and Colorado and all of our surrounding states, and it generates a model number on it. So that's the market salary. What we saw in the CREW report, I'm just curious if we saw the same trend, is that's where we're really breaking the model. But at the end of the day, let's just talk about salaries. And so many of these superintendents, not all of them, some of them are maybe actually, and particularly new ones, below that model salary for superintendents. Well, we have a number of superintendents in the state of Wyoming that make more than the chief executive, the superintendent of public instruction. They make more than the Supreme Court justices. They make more than the treasurer. They make more than your district court judges. And so when we talk about the responsibility in context of what we're willing to pay for the market value, the model calculates that. And then we see this go way above the model. But I'm going to tell you, when you're a district court judge and you're sitting on somebody's sentence that's life or death, do they get the death penalty or not? And we pay them significantly less than we do some of these superintendents, then we need to contemplate that in the context of the big picture of what we're funding and what's that worth. I'm not saying that there's not great superintendents out there. Those school districts still have the opportunity to do that. But when we look at in the whole of public funding and things, so I have a hard time saying, that a superintendent of a school district is worth more than $80,000 or $100,000 than a Supreme Court justice or a district court justice or our top 5 elected officials. And so let's just look at this in view in the context of what we're doing here. I don't think it's unreasonable what the calibration committee did. Said, we just need to rein this in a little bit and take a look at it. So on and against the amendment, I'd be curious if you've got more updated data than what I've had available.
Thank you. Senator Rothfuss, to you next.
Thank you, Mr. President. As my good friend suggested, I am going to ask that you resist this amendment as well. We did obviously look at the CREW report during the interim. I couldn't pull up the most recent one, but I believe the district average superintendent salary right now is around $150,000 a year, which is actually below what this 2.33 gets after the model. One of the things that it's important to realize is that it's 233% or 2.33 times the total compensation. So it's the total compensation of a superintendent cannot exceed, according to the way the bill is drafted, 2.33 times the total compensation for the average teacher of that district. So with a fully loaded compensation at where the bill is at right now, that teacher total compensation is right around $100,000. So this limit, the cap right now, is around $233,000 of total compensation, which again, perhaps there are circumstances, and I can understand the concerns of those that are bringing the amendment and others, where a comparable free private sector position might be higher than that. It is still substantial, and it is certainly at the top of the range of what anyone would be paying at this point in time. I'm not sure any superintendent at this point has compensation over $233,000. They may, but I'm not certain of that. But again, getting back to the average and getting back to what the model was at, right now the model is substantially lower than that on what the model pays. Our funding model was funding it at around about 120,000 or 130,000 and hitting about 150,000. So it is accurate that the superintendent's salary average has been coming in about 10% or so over what the existing model is funding. This was an attempt by the recalibration committee to set a ceiling, and it was not a ceiling that was supposed to push down really on superintendents, but ensure that there was a controlled element with that. And again, Mr. President, I'd ask that you support the work of the interim recalibration committee.
Thank you, sir. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the great benefits of being on the recalibration committee is really understanding what our superintendents do. I underestimated what they did and what they do. They're incredible people. I believe that I have some of the best superintendents in my district, in the entire state. And I think that maybe we have failed them in educating the public as to exactly what their responsibilities are and what they do. Because I know I have learned that they do much more than I thought they did. Having said that, one of the reasons that this issue was brought up, and I will speak only for myself in my specific district, was their current compensation levels versus the vast majority of people in my district. And I think, as the good senator said, in some cases they're higher than our judges' salaries, our executive branch's salaries, and I get quite a few calls during the year as to why is that? Why are we paying superintendents above judges or members of the executive branch? And I think that's a legitimate question. So that is why this issue was brought up in recalibration, and I think it's a legitimate question. But I do believe that we need to do a better job, because our superintendents, it is a thankless job. They have incredible responsibilities, and I don't think they're given the credit that they deserve.
Thank you, Senator Salazar. Anybody else? Senator Love.
Mr. President, thank you. Just a few thoughts, I guess, on this. Superintendents lead these school districts, and having been on a board before, you go through a very rigorous process, and the Superintendents Association, School Boards Association, they will come in and help you facilitate the hiring process. And as you work through this, you realize just how much responsibility there is and how few people there are available that are qualified to do a good job with your district. And when you find that person with the right experience level and the right background and the right leadership qualities to lead your district to where you want it to go, you don't want to be handicapped by somebody else taking control of what should be local control in hiring your superintendent. So if you go to any school board training, you will hear that one of the most important jobs you will do as a school board member is hire a superintendent. That is the leader that's going to lead your teachers, they're going to lead your athletics, they're going to lead everything about that district and the direction of education. They have sleepless nights, they're at every event, they try to make every event. If there's 3, 4, sometimes they're running nonstop. They don't work normal hours. They don't get bankers' hours, they don't get judges' hours, they don't get those. They work tirelessly at this effort. And so when we think about what we just heard from the good senator from over the hill, I don't hear any savings in this application. So why then are we casting stones at local control when there's no savings in it? And so I'm really wondering what we're after with this cap. Because when I do a national average search, and I've shared this with some of you, superintendents will average 2.5 to 3 to 5 times average teacher salary. Well, that's a whole lot different than 2.33 that we're talking about right now. And so are they really our most precious resource? Do we want to make sure the guy at the helm of the ship has a broken compass, or do we want to make sure his stuff's working? Why would we take that control away from our school boards? Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm real kind of confused here because I thought the school boards that were elected set the policy for those folks. And then those folks that are in the administration go off and carry out that policy. So I'm a little confused on why we're now talking about superintendent would set all these policies. That's not the way it's supposed to be. If we're gonna actually be here talking about local control, it comes from the elected school boards. And I think that's where it must come from. And I think that's a huge part that's missing in our state in many places. Our school boards need to be the ones reflective of the constituents they represent. And they give the marching orders to set superintendents. I think that's the issue. That's where I look at this. So no, this person's not the person of a large corporation, the head of a large corporation. It's a non sequitur. It doesn't make sense. It is not connectable. This person is a person that carries out policy set by a school board. And I think that's an utterly different thing than, say, a large corporate situation. So no, I'm not going to draw an inference from how many folks are there under this school board, that students or the size of it. Sure, a larger school district certainly is going to be a more difficult situation. But we have to put local control. We heard local control. I agree with local control. I don't like to do anything that takes that away in almost every instance. However, in this particular case, now all of a sudden we're going to say the management is superior to the school board. No, they follow up. They follow policies. I want to stand with what recalibration did. I understand we all have probably slightly different opinions about what happened, but I'm going to stand with local control, local school board setting policies, and not the administration setting policies. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cole. Senator Landon, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And, the previous speaker, the only thing that I would say to that is we are for local control, always, until we're not. That's kind of the way we roll. I'm just going to remind everybody, when our local school boards go out to get somebody to lead that district, they're competing on a regional and a national scale. And you're trying to find somebody to do a job that not very many people can do. That's the reality. And you can cap it if you want, but just know what that's going to do to the pool of people who are going to be willing to come in and lead your school district. That's all we're doing. We're just, it's just part of this great big block grant that we say, so you either believe in the free market and you believe in local control, or you don't. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Landon. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rarely, if ever, speak on education issues because that is one mixed bag of information and policy. And I really like more definitive arguments. But to that point, one of the reasons why I'm against the amendment, but support the policy arguments against it, because I do typically support local control until I don't. And certainly this body is not interested in providing any local control to schools. And to kid ourselves otherwise is wildly disingenuous. We spent a lot of time crafting pages and pages of words into those green books to tell them when and how people could go to the bathroom at their request. So when the school boards aren't in a position to determine who plays on the volleyball team in 7th grade, or who can go into the bathroom between the hours of 7 and 10, I feel like maybe we need to step forward and make these kind of decisions on their behalf as well. And I say that with a level of a tone that you're familiar of hearing from me. But one of the primary challenges that I've experienced as a senator now in my 10th year in this chamber when it concerns education funding is the profound misinformation from any credible source. From the school boards, to the associations, to the superintendents, to the education committees, it's all different. And nobody has any consensus of opinion. But what I do hear from the teachers is that they're not paid enough, and that the legislature isn't appropriating enough money, which always leaves me a bit baffled in light of the amount of money we appropriate, $3 billion, that there's not enough money to pay the teachers. And so if we're going to get ahead of how the state of Wyoming is constitutionally committed and consistently provides hundreds of millions of dollars to the tune of $3 billion a biennium to make sure those teachers get paid and overcome this perception, I'm all for this amendment. I support superintendents earning a salary that justifies the work that they do, which is tremendous. But we have got to move the state forward and educating the public, the teachers, and bringing all of our education stakeholders together to get on point and get on message, to know we need to have real conversations that are based on facts and not misinformation. Because I am 10 years now, those teachers aren't making enough money, legislature isn't paying for it, and that's nonsense. The legislature funds enough money to pay appropriate teacher salaries, and we're going to now put that into statute and put that into policy. And I fully support that position. So on and against the amendment.
Senator Hicks, for your second time.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and on the issue of local control, I think the vast majority of us understand that. As long as the local control is with local money, I'm 100% behind that they get to decide how they want to spend the money. We have this constitutional obligation. We go out and collect all these property taxes, and we collect all these other taxes and stuff. And then under our constitutional model, we as the legislature distribute that out. And if we ever get to the point where we say, well, once we distribute it, we lose all control of that money, then what's the purpose of the legislature? We appropriate money, folks. We look after the taxpayers' interest, whether you're a mineral company or a homeowner, or you're paying auto taxes for registration or whatever it is. So local control, absolutely. Local control with taxpayers' monies that we're obligated under our Constitution, and we have an obligation to look after all of those affected interests, and that includes the taxpayers on how that money. So yeah, absolutely, local control, oversight with state money is essential. So on and against the amendment.
Anybody else before the sponsor? Anybody else? All right, Senator Barlow, back to you for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. So much to work with here, but let's keep it short. School teachers, superintendents, they're taxpayers too, as are the parents of those children that go to these schools. I'm glad we all value our superintendents, but I don't think those 48 superintendents we're going to change or balance all of the lack of teacher pay on those 48 positions. As far as comparing superintendents, and we do this with justices and county electeds and statewide electeds, well, we can change that if we want. We can go to a different model if we choose to. We can go to a local control model. I don't know what that looks like. But there's no question, and some of you know this, there are sheriffs that make less than their undersheriffs because they don't have local control. We're going to set up a situation where deputy superintendents may make more than the superintendent. How about we just leave this with our elected boards and trust them that they can balance the interests of their teachers and the person that they hire, they retain to carry out the policies, and I agree completely, the policy that district finds valuable in those 48 districts out there. Let's let them use the dollars that we provide, the state helps provide, and locally generated to hire the person that they need to do the job that they believe is important in their communities. And I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. The yeas and nays have been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 8, the Senate File 81. The chief clerk will please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 8, roll call. Anderson. Aye. Barlow. I. Boner? I. Brennan? No. Case? I. Cooper? No. Crago? I. Crum? I. Dockstetter? I. Driscoll? I. French? No. Guru? I. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? I. Cole? No. Landon? I. Larson? No. Love? I. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? I. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Third reading amendment number 8, 13 aye, 18 no.
Third reading amendment number 8 to Senate File 81 has failed. We're on third reading amendment number 9.
Senate File 81, third reading amendment number 9, page 41, lines 4 through 22.
Senator Barlow.
Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 8, Senate File 81, and ask for any consideration. Let's go with ayes and noes, and my colleague. Oh, 9, my apologies.
Can you restate the motion, sir?
I would move third reading amendment number 9, Senate File 81. My apologies, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And I still will call for the ayes and noes and acknowledge my colleague behind me will urge your no vote. Mr. President, I think we're just going down the same road here, but I'm just going to go straight to it. Is there evidence that we are so far out of the block and these funds are not being used for instructional purposes? And anyway, I guess let's just start with that. If the members of that committee that worked so hard in this past interim, and I appreciate so much, did all that work, what is the evidence that this is being abused or misused in some way across 48 school districts? That's 48 different needs, 48 different purposes, large districts, small districts, et cetera. We didn't pass the amendment earlier that talked about small schools within a small district. So this is another walling of ability probably within their districts with this particular thing. They can't do some things they may need to do. So just let's start with that. Everybody seems to have all the information, so share it with us, share it with the rest of the body, and share it with the listening public about what the evidence is this is necessary within the model. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, yes, on and against the amendment, and this is a complicated one because of why the districts have not achieved the number of teachers that we have in the model. But the reality is there are 6,085, I guess 5.7, so 6,086 actual hired FTEs for teachers in the state at this point in time. And the model generates 7,012 in theory. So there's 1,000 teachers missing statewide from what the model generates. Now, Mr. President, we know that the reason that there are 1,000 missing is because we have underfunded salaries. And so the districts have been unable to hire the sufficient number of teachers. So it wasn't without positive intent, and it varies from district to district. Some districts are very close to the model. Some districts are very far from the model. The discussion on the recalibration committee during the interim was, we understand that teachers are underpaid, that the model does not generate sufficient resources. There was unanimity, consensus on the recalibration committee that we needed to increase that. The concern of the committee was that we would increase it, but those increases would not go to the teachers. And the reason for that concern was when we provided the 8.5% ECA for the salaries of teachers last year. We heard from districts that they couldn't provide all of those funds, and for good reasons. I'm not going to debate at this point in time why, but that was the concern. All right, so we will dramatically increase by over 10% the amount of funds available for teachers for salaries, but the only way the select committee would do that, the only way the select committee agreed to it, is if there was a mechanism to ensure that those dollars went to the classroom and that those teachers were actually hired. So rather than being now around 1,400 teachers short in a couple of years based on what we're funding, the intent is put in a bunch of additional money, and for the teacher silo, for the instructional silo, it's about $113 million more, because we're pushing so many resources into that silo to ensure that those teachers get hired. That the instructional silo was the compromise. That was the linchpin of the interim work. Mr. President, you were there. You know, I was advocating for higher salaries. That was very important to me. You were also advocating for higher salaries, but the only way we were going to get to the point where the whole committee could come together and say, all right, we're going to support it, is with an assurance that the dollars would go to the classroom and not somewhere else. So the instructional silo is the reason we had unanimity on the select committee, because everybody was comfortable that with that in place, the interests of the select committee would be realized, and absent that, there was tremendous concern. So while I understand fully, Mr. President, I know you understand fully the concerns of our districts, that they want full fungibility because they do things differently from district to district, this was the key to getting the bill passed. This really was the essential point that led to a successful outcome, a constitutional recalibration bill that we have before us at this point in time, and a bill that finally allows us to realize the number of teachers that we intend to hire, not just those that we can afford to hire, Mr. President. On and against the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. This was the linchpin. This is why we had unanimity. This kept us together. Without this, I dare say we probably would have broken down. This is the focal point.
Further discussion? Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know that I can say any different, but I think my focus and the focus of many of us on the committee was to get those teacher salaries up, so we would be more in line with the states around us. And by passing the bill we passed, or hopefully passing the bill that we have right now, it will take care of that. And that's what we were hearing from districts, is they weren't able to fill the spots because our salaries weren't in line with you know, the state east of us, west of us, north of us, south of us. Like I said, only one of 5 states that I'm aware of that was even somewhat close. So that was our focus. And by, you know, I'm not a huge fan of silos, quite frankly, but I understand why we needed to have it. Because it's just like the block grant, you know, that we give to our university. You know, some people have a little issue with that because they use it for this and maybe not that. And I mean, I had one district that said, you know, we're really glad that you're bumping up the teacher salaries because we think we have too many maintenance people in our district, or we think we have too many whatever in our district. There was always somebody that had something to say about that. So I think we hit the nail on the head by keeping our focus on teachers. They are the number one most important thing in a classroom besides our students. And that's what we did to try and make that a difference. So I think the 2 speakers previous pretty much handled it. It does take away a little bit of local control and a little bit of flexibility from our administrators, and nobody likes that. But, you know, I wouldn't want to be an administrator actually right now. But at the same time, I think it took care of the issue that we were focusing on, which was teacher salaries. So with that, I would ask that you vote against it.
Further discussion? Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just in case the body was wondering if we thought this was an important thing in the Senate Recalibration Committee. It was. Please vote no on this amendment. Keep intact what we did. The teachers are where our students are at. Let's put our priority there.
Anybody else before the sponsor? Anybody else? Senator Barlow, for your second time.
Mr. President, thank you. So I do appreciate the comments in the 6,886 actual FTTs, 7,012. Nobody mentioned how many are outside of the classroom to support the classroom. So part of what we're doing is, I don't know what happens in your community or as you drive through other communities, what do you see? What do you see signs for? Buses with signs on. See, we need a bus driver. So while we may have the resources in the classroom, and I want that, absolutely, that's a priority, we have other folks in these that support the educators, that support all these things. And when we do the ECA every 2 years, and I couldn't come up with 8.5% that my colleague behind me talked about, why they all go to the classroom. I had a little different number when it came up, but we also gave ECAs to those folks that were classified, if you will, not the teachers, but the classified stuff. And then we had energy, and of course we have supplies. So I guess my hope is that if this bill continues through and we actually follow some of the good work that our recalibration committee has brought to us, that next year the ECA is going to have to take a look at this legislature is going to have to, the next legislature will have to take a look at what kind of disparity have we created with this within the districts of the professionals who are, whether it's in the lunchroom or driving the school buses or elsewhere in the system, are they being valued at the same level that the teachers are? Because quite honestly, none of this works without all of them working together. So I appreciate the good discussion. Look forward to third reading on this amendment and ayes and nays on this one as well, if I didn't call it. Thank you.
Okay. Ayes and nays haven't been called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 9, Senate File 81. The chief clerk will please call the roll.
Third reading amendment number 9, roll call. Anderson? No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? No. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? No. French? No. Guru? No. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? No. Love? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? No. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Third reading amendment number 9, 6 aye, 25 no.
Third reading amendment number 9 to Senate File 81 has failed. We are back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Seeing none. Senate File 81, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall this bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will please call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 81. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? I. Nethercott? I. Olson? I. Pappas? I. Pearson? I. Rothfuss? I. Salazar? I. Schuler? I. Scott? I. Steinmetz? I. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 81, 30 aye, 1 no.
Senate File 81, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 31 has passed the Senate. Senate File 84, third reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 84, Voluntary Water Conservation Program, an act relating to water within Wyoming's portion of the Colorado River Basin, sponsored by Water.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
Senate File 84, third reading, Amendment Number 1, page 2, line 20.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 84 when we ask for your favorable consideration. Folks, this goes into the voluntary water conservation program that would be set up in the Colorado River Basin. So just real briefly, what that does is it sets up a voluntary program, but I want to come back to this. It's compensated, and we'll have a little discussion on that. It legally recognizes conserved water, which we currently don't necessarily have that mechanism in the water law. And then the other thing it does, it sets up rules and procedures for the state engineer's office to either adopt these conservation projects or not. But I want to circle back to my biggest concern, two of my biggest concerns with this bill all along is what it effectively does is it's going to monetize the value of water. And so we've already got programs up there where the federal government has been paying irrigators up to $500 an acre foot for conserved consumptive use. In other words, if you just quit irrigating, we're going to pay you. And so when we do that, and so let me just run some numbers out. So if you have a 100-acre field out there and you just voluntarily agreed to dry that up, we got about 2.5 acre feet of consumptive use at $500, it's $125,000 that you're going to get paid a year not to irrigate. That program was already out there. That was a short-term program that we implemented with federal dollars. It's anticipated that this might come back in here. But this gets to my primary concern with the bill already, is if you're in a certain subsector of the Colorado River Basin, you're going to get to monetize your water to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars. I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. I think we need to, this is a move forward and be concerned. Most of this water under this program would be put into the program, would be available for those other water users like your municipalities and your heavy industry that have to have a 100% reliable supply. So in concept, the program is something that we need to work out, but it's moved forward very cautiously. So I'll speak to the amendment. So the amendment does a couple of things. Number one, a lot of it's just cleanup and language. So if you go into page 2 line, it just says it may help. Colorado doesn't say it will help. We just delete, which I would say is verbose language that we don't use in line 221. Line 3, as we get into that, it talks about the basin compact. So currently, under the Colorado River Compact, it tells you how do you measure consumptive use. And under the compact, it says inflow and outflow. Since that time, with some of the aided technologies, they're using just what they say, satellite imagery to calculate consumptive use. The trouble with that is it solely focuses on the crop and not the system. Inflow, outflow means from the time you divert the water to the time that you get the return flows back. It's not uncommon in the Colorado River Basin, Green River Basin in Wyoming to lose 30 to 40% of your water to other consumptive uses. This just allows the state engineer to go in there and say, look, if we've got good data, we can use inflow, outflow. If we don't have good data, we can use the current methodology adopted by the UCRC that just looks at the field level. At the end of the day, It's still going to be what the applicant can submit, what the state engineer, but it broadens the ability to use both methodologies rather than just focus on one methodology. So that's the first part of that. We get into page 3, it just, again, we delete some extraneous language in there. Page 5, laid 17, irrigation. This was pretty much wrote for irrigation, but we may have a couple instances where we have other users on the system, so it just would allow those people to participate for any other valid water user. So we do have a number of heavy industries out there that may be curtailing their use. So think of thermal, electrical generation with all that black stuff that we love. If they come down and go to alternate methods, their water use. So there's an opportunity for all those water users to potentially participate. It broadens that. If we get all the way through the rest of that, so when you get into all that from page 7, all that stuff is just using our normal formatting process. Instead of putting or, it just designates it as Romanet I, Romanet 2, Romanet 3, and uses our normally drafting process. We get to page 7, under what talks about administrative authority by the state of Wyoming. Page 8 just comes in, insert the methodologies outlined in the Colorado River Compact. That goes right back up to the definition of consumptive use. Mr. Chairman, if we get down again to the bottom, we start getting into the formatting. We get rid of the ors and we just bring in the Romanet I, 2, 3, and then we also bring in, as a good bill from my colleague from over in the area of Converse, we've included water, what do we call those, watershed improvement districts in there. You'd have to get approval from that district to participate in that program. And then,
Senator Hicks?
Yes.
You're at 5 minutes. You're out of time.
Okay, Madam Chairman. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Any further questions? Any further discussion? Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is just on the new language in the amendment. This is lines 5 through 10 or 11 and 12 in the amendment. And we're deferring to the Colorado River Compact, which we probably is something we have abide by. I'm not sure that the Wyoming Legislature gives our authority over to, though, a commission, another commission. That seems unique to me in the context of anything federal or et cetera. So just any comment or consideration of those compact, maybe we're in the compact, maybe we've signed it, maybe it's part of our green books, but a commission, that seems like us delegating authority, which I would just query on that. Thank you, Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Further discussion? Senator Hutchings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just was enjoying the explanation of the amendment and would like to ask if the bringer of the amendment can go over lines 4 through 15 on page 2. Thank you.
Further discussion? Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Majority Leader. Yeah, just getting some more feedback on this third reading amendment, and obviously potentially a huge change, and something that with the bill that we've worked pretty heavily throughout the interim. So maybe just broad discussion, what the stakeholders that put so much effort in this bill, what their reaction is to this amendment. Also, regarding the deletion of otherwise, looks like on, very top of the amendment, page 1, line 3. I think that was an effort to use, to prevent our ability to use the program or water conservation under the program to satisfy the possible court decree. And so this is going to be a little bit different because we're dealing with a compact, a multi-state compact. And so just a little bit more discussion. I think there's some good input here, but it's a substantial amendment that touches lots of different places of the bill. And either way, it seems like whether we pass it or not, if the bill moves forward, we're going to have to adjust this in the other chamber to provide a little bit more opportunity for stakeholder input. So just a little bit more information, maybe in general terms, as to what the stakeholder group thinks of this amendment, I think that'd be helpful.
Further discussion, Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to clarify a little bit, the Colorado River Compact is federal law. It's not something we've done, and the Upper Colorado River Commission is the 4 states that have joined in that commission. You could look that up and they are a partnership recognized under the compact, and so that is a part of federal law, just to help out with that part of it.
Senator Larson.
Madam Chairman, I'm in support of this amendment. I think the good senator from Baggs did some good wording changes that make it a better bill.
Further discussion? As the president takes back the chair.
Well done. All right, Senator Hicks for your second time.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so my colleague from Goshen, to answer my colleague from Campbell County, any compact decree, court decree supersedes Wyoming water law. So the commission is a byproduct of the Upper Colorado River Compact. That's the commission that oversees the compact, which every state has a designated. In our case, it's a state engineer sits on that, but that's just the way that process works. A little more discussion, I believe, from my colleague from Cheyenne. I didn't capture all that. Could you reiterate that question?
Well, you're on your second time, Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, so I know this is a very complicated amendment. Again, it's something that, having sat on that Colorado River Advisory Group, working through this and working through the process, the intent of this amendment really is to broaden. So my overall concern when we get into some of this stuff is to make sure everybody in the Colorado River Basin in Wyoming can participate. So you get to that next level of concern, and we have this provision in our Constitution that says we can't write special and exclusive laws. And so what I've tried to do with the amendment to say anybody that has a Bureau Reclamation reservoir or a private reservoir can make an application. There's no duty on the state engineer's office whatsoever that they have to approve it. But what it's done is to broaden it, because I think this really treads closely on violating that component under Article 3 in the Constitution. Because we're going to monetize the value of that water, there's potentially tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that could be exchanged here. We need to make sure everybody that has a water right in that Colorado River Basin in Wyoming can participate. That's the language that comes in towards the end where it says we have 4 or 5 other Bureau Reclamation reservoirs other than Fontenelle. You got Meek's Cabin, you got Big Sandy, you got all these other reservoirs, and it's just trying to broaden this so everybody can participate in the program. There's no duty by the state engineer or the Board of Control to approve those applications. It just lets them to apply to see if it meets the criteria. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for the question. Vote aye.
Did anybody call for the ayes and nays while I was gone? All right, we're going to do a voice vote. Voting on third reading amendment number 1, the Senate File 84. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Standing divisions required. All those in favor stand. (17). All those opposed? Less than 17. Third reading amendment number 1, the Senate File 84 has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Question being called. Senate File 84 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 84. Anderson. Aye. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Boner. Aye. Brennan. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Crago. Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstetter. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. French. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Hutchings. Aye. Ide. Aye. Jones. Aye. Cole. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. Aye. Love. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Olson. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Pearson. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. President Beitman.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 84, 31 aye.
Senate File 84, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 84 has passed the Senate. Senate File 105, third reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 105, Real Estate Brokers Duties and Disclosure Amendments, an act relating to real estate brokers and salespersons, sponsored by Senator Jones.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
Senate File 105, third reading, Amendment Number 1, page 2, line 15.
Senator Jones.
Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 105 and ask for your favorable consideration. This is just a cleanup amendment. It broadens and clarifies when and how disclosures apply. It removes restrictive wording from the bill, allowing customers to view property at any time without signing a disclosure.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 105. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Seeing none. Senate File 105 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall this bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, Senate File 105. Anderson. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Boner. Aye. Brennan. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Crago. Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstetter. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. French. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. Ide. Aye. Jones. Aye. Cole. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. Aye. Love. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Olson. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Pearson. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. President Beitman.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 105, 31 aye.
Senate File 105, having received the majority of the vote of the members elected to the Senate, Senate File 105 has passed the Senate. House Bill 1, third reading of the bill. House Bill 1. Pursuant to our rules, the House budget goes straight to third reading. Thanks for keeping me on my toes, Senator Case.
House Bill 1, General Government Appropriations 2, an act to make appropriations for the fiscal biennium commencing July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2028, sponsored by Appropriations.
Thank you. Chairman Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable members, what you have before you, it should be on your desk, is number one, the Stand Committee summary sheet. You should also have a copy of the Standing Committee report from the other chamber, as well as the adopted amendments from the other chamber, as well as a total appropriations and revisions comparison between our chamber and the other chamber. What the Appropriations Committee would like to do very briefly is simply go through the 4-page summary sheet with an explanation of the differences between our bill and the House bill. I will tell you up front that the general fund difference between the House and the Senate is about $160 million. With that, I'd like to start on page 1 of the summary sheet, the Standing Committee summary sheet. It's this large one right here, and just briefly go through it. Starting with House third reading amendment number 7, there was no money involved in this, but it did add footnote 4 specifying that no funds in the Animal Damage Management Program, as well as the listed divisions, shall be expended for purposes of cost allocation. Again, these are identical amendments, mirrors. Number 2, House third reading amendment number 9. Again, it's a carryover from the per editor management, specifying that the funds appropriated to the Department of Agriculture is appropriated from the Game and Fish Fund. This other fund's appropriation is conditional upon approval from the Game and Fish Commission. Then finally, the last identical amendment is House second reading amendment 28, Cultural Resources. Adds footnote 3 specifying that $96,000 from the general fund may be expended as necessary to ensure that the state's archaeological work on human remains is completed efficiently and effectively as determined by the agency director. If you go on further down to House third reading amendment 124, these are all nothing more than technical amendments, simply technical amendments. House second reading amendment 18 deals with the state fair. It restores the governor's recommendation of $295,000 from the general fund and two full-time equivalent positions for a senior buildings and grounds specialist and for a maintenance and operations support position. And then finally, if you look at House second reading amendment 21 under the Attorney General and Criminal Investigation, this amends footnote 3 specifying that $3 million from the general fund appropriation for the Internet Crimes Against Children team shall not be effective if 2026 Senate File 85 is enacted into law. That is simply page 1, and I will ask my vice chairman to explain page 2.
Thank you, Senator Salazar. Senator Driscoll.
Who's the vice chairman?
Thank you, Mr. President. On to page 2 of the summary sheet. So House Amendment, and these are similar amendments. House Amendment 22 and Senate Amendment 21 is DEQ under the air quality. It's $500,000, restores the governor's recommendation of $500,000. That went to both sides, but they're the same coming out. House Bill third reading amendment number 11 against second reading amendment number 1, Department Audit Banking. This increased $194,237 special revenue and 1 full-time equivalent employee and all the technology and hardware associated for the position. And it's a partial restoration of the governor's recommendation of a new entry level. Third one is third reading House Amendment number 36 against second reading amendment number 1, Department of Transportation Operational Services. This reduces the appropriation by $685,294. This is the operation of one state-owned jet. Additionally, amends footnote 5 to reflect the reduction. Folks, this is the elimination of one state jet. The governor's rec did not have that in there, the House does. This will be one of the areas that we'll have a difference on to settle out. House Bill 49, Second Amendment against Second Amendment number 1, Department of Health. This amends footnote number 1, Little Romanet I and Little Romanet II to modify effective prior to the word abortion. This is back to, we've got the restriction on abortions, and it adds elective to it instead of, it's a cleanup, basically. House Bill, or House Amendment number 29, second reading against the First Amendment. Department of Health, Healthcare Financing. No funding change. The House went on the higher provider levels. This is on DD waivers. They went higher provider levels. The Senate position was about an even split between provider levels and the DD waiver wait list. So that's going to be another area that we have to line up on, but probably not a long ways apart. House third reading amendment number 31, Department of Health, Behavioral Health. This restores governor's recommendation for the preschool cost adjustment by increasing $10 million. That's a match pretty much. House 35, amendment number 35, third reading, Livestock Board Administration. This is a $300,000. It's only on the House side. It's for metal ear tags. General fund to buy metal ear tags for the bags program. House Bill Amendment 68, state aid, $6 million athletics, both sides matched on that. That's UW Athletics, full match on $6 million. House Amendment number 59, state aid, University of Wyoming. Men's footnote 4 specified the qualified management consultant. This is the Porous Media and High Bay Research Facility audit. That is not on the governor's budget, but it is on the House side. That'll be negotiated out. That's a full audit of the high bay and porous materials. House Amendment number 60 actually got struck later. That was the Harshman Amendment that undid the $40 million cut to UW. Next amendment down is 120, is a Bear Amendment. University of Wyoming, it cut that $40 million cut to $20 million, so the House position is a $20 million cut with, and I'm not gonna read it all, but if you go over to the edge of it, there's a fairly extensive set of footnotes that goes with that $20 million cut that requires reporting and lots of stuff, and it also requires further cuts if we go on. That's gonna be a fairly major point between us. House Amendment number 66, Wyoming Business Council. Once again, we all know this is a fairly major deal. House position restored 1/2 of the budget for 3 of the different divisions of the Business Council. And then left the Small Business Innovation Research Program. They did not fund, and it funded all 3 of those for just 1 year. So I believe it works out to about $8 million, I'm thinking, on that end of it. Last one is the amendment number 78. This is Board of Barber Examiners. The House restored $4,000 back to it. I think that still leaves them with a $3,000 haircut, but they did get $4,000 back. Thank you. Was that fun? Come on.
Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you would turn to page 3 of the summary sheet that you've been given. These are some related, and we'll try to walk through them as best we can. The second reading, amendment number 104, the Harshman Amendment. What this amendment did was took the $16 million of the energy matching loan program that we approved and just took it from the LSRA and moved it to the SIP account, the $16 million. So they just did a fund switch there. See, this is going to be a recurring theme. Next is the House third reading amendment 88, Nyman Amendment. Now this took $54 million from the Business Council, and this was a very similar amendment to the Steinmetz amendment that we had here, that takes that 54 million and puts it into a ready community account that would be run by the SLIB board to, for cities, towns, communities, for using funds that way, so taking that money out. That was what that amendment does, so that'll be a point. Then the next amendment is House Third Reading Amendment number 90, the Bear Amendment. That changed the stable token account and is only effective if Senate File 21 is not enacted into law. The next is House Second Reading Amendment 110. This was the PRCA $15 million, and this just added some sideboards to that, changed it to the Office of Tourism Project and Contracts, further amends it to language, grant an incentive project, and also has the governor making some decisions on it, and it says that the money has to be repaid if it's not completed by June 30th of 2030. Next up is House Third Reading Amendment number 93 under the Harshman Amendment, and this just changed the Hathaway program from where the Senate had it to a 60.7, I think it was like a 30 point something in ours, and it just raised it up and added some sideboards on that. Next up is House Third Reading Amendment 122, the Bear Amendment. Now this is related to Senator Larson's Third Reading Amendment number 21 about the trail system. That amendment that we passed had $1.2 million in trail systems in one particular area. The change was dropping it down to $400,000 and putting it in the tourism account, or from the tourism account, but then putting it into more of a statewide program that it could be applied for. Next up, Second Reading Amendment 113, the Washington Amendment. Now this is on the Wyoming State Shooting Complex. And it kept the money and kept it from the same courses, but then added some sideboards. And then if you drop down to the lien amendment, House Third Reading Amendment 95 basically says that, boy, we can't spend any more money on that no matter what we do. So that was what that amendment was all about. Then if you drop down next, it's House Third Reading Amendment 98, the Bear Amendment. State parks, that relates to the Driscoll Amendment, Third Reading Amendment number 50, and it just changed. We're at 3.5 million and they're at 3 million, so it's just a $500,000 drop. And that one with the language that is there that you can read. Next, and this is pretty impressive. House Third Reading Amendment 98. What we did here, what the House, our friends in the House did, is they went with the employee compensation package, also added a 13th check to the retirement, on the retirement board. So the employee compensation is $109,381. The retirement 13th check, and this comes out of general fund, not out of their account, that's $8,031,000 and $8,031,000. And then the kicker was that they took the funding out of the, for the pay increase, comes out of a different account than what we had. They brought it out of severance and we brought it out of the general fund. And so, and that's a change that we're gonna need to talk about. So the full employee compensation package is there. They added something, the 13th check that we did not contemplate, and changed the funding source. Then the last one is the budget balancers. The House did 180 million, we did 350 million, and that's the budget balancers, and that is the end of page 3. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Bring us home.
Mr. President, thank you. I bring you page 4. These are unrelated, and so we'll definitely be talking about them. The first one is House Third Reading Amendment number 4. It's in A&I. I'm just going to read it, I think. It increases $424,579 general fund and adds footnote number 3 specifying that the appropriation is for 3 full-time equivalent positions for the facility management and utility payments at the Riverton State Office Building for the biennium. Item number 2 is third reading amendment number 18 in the Department of Transportation. Essentially, it authorizes a public purpose investment in the form of a loan of not more than $100 million from the Permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund, and adds footnote number 7 that the state treasurer can invest those dollars. And it does 6 specific projects that were listed for YDOT to do. I think I'm going to just go through them. Creation of passing lanes on US Highway 20 between Casper and Waltman. Creation of passing lanes on Highway 20 between Waltman and Shoshone. And creation of passing lanes on Highway 20 between Shoshone and Thermopolis. The portion of Highway 287 between Laramie, Wyoming, and Colorado state line that consists of only 2 lanes in order to make that entire portion of the highway 4 lanes. Portion of Highway 59 between Wright and Gillette to make that entire portion of the highway 5 lanes. And an alternative paved highway from Rock Springs to Green River on the north side of Interstate 80. So those are the 6 specific projects. Then we go to third reading amendment number 41. This is on community colleges and University of Wyoming, and adds a footnote in both specifying of the general fund's appropriation, no funds shall be expended for student athlete salaries or endorsement compensation by the community college and then by the University of Wyoming. The next amendment is third reading amendment number 79, budget balancers transfers. It renames a section of the budget balancer and transfers and adds subsection D. Essentially what this is put in there is that it's a backup if Senate File 119 does not pass. So that's pretty much what that does. Senate File 119 is to repeal the SIPA account. The third reading amendment number 116, Wyoming Business Council forensic audit. It increases $100,000 general fund and adds section 329 specifying the appropriation is for a forensic audit of the Wyoming Business Council, and then it lists all the things that will be included. House third reading amendment number 121 is brings back an old familiar one, 1893 Yellowstone Forest Reserve Survey Party Tree. So this adds section 328 appropriating $30,000 from the Wyoming tourism account, there you go, for the Department of State Parks and Cultural Resources for retrieving, developing, and curating the display of the 1893 Yellowstone Forest Reserve Party Tree. And then the last one is third reading amendment number 125, homeowners tax exemption procedures. And I don't know if I can explain it very well, so I'm just gonna read it. Adds a new section 328, amending statute 3111, 105A, and all that other, to specify that for tax years 27 and 28, if a primary residence is sold and another is repurchased within Wyoming, the months residing in both owner-occupied residences shall apply to the requirement for the exemption. Further, it amends that the statute requiring the person claiming the exemption to submit a claim to the county assessor no later than the second Monday of May and 26 and March 1 and 27. That's all I have.
Thank you. Back to you, Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. So that, that briefly is the differences. I would say to the floor that I'd hate to judge before all the facts are in, but this chamber may have some different views on some of these topics than those across the hall. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any questions for the appropriators? Any questions on any of these? It's open for discussion. All right, seeing none, in accordance with Joint Rule 14-1F, third reading will be, oh, we're not going to continue. We're going to keep on moving. Yeah, there being no further discussion on House Bill 1 in accordance with Joint Rule 14-1G and 14-1H, House Bill 1 is referred directly to a conference committee of 5 members from each house to meet to resolve the differences between the houses with respects to both budget bills, Senate File 1 and House Bill 1. All right, give you that back. Madam Majority Floor Leader, we are at that order of business of consideration of bills on general file.
Mr. Senate, I move that the Senate resolve itself into committee of the whole. Senators, I only intend to do the first 2 bills on our agenda, just for your understanding and pace of the day.
All right, you've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Passes. Motion passes. Senator Olson, come on down. All right, drive it like you stole it. Okay. We've got an aggressive agenda, so let's get to work, see if we can get through this in the next couple of minutes. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 4. The reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 4, Birthing Centers Medicaid Coverage, an act relating to medical assistance and services, sponsored by Labor, referred to Senate Committee Number 10, which returned a due pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Brennan, Hutchings, Scott, Steinmetz, excuse Senator Crum, signed Senator Brennan, Chairman.
All right, you've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Senator Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rise to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 4 do pass. And for an explanation of the bill, I will turn it over to Senator Hutchings.
Senator Hutchings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very simple bill. Birthing centers, Medicaid coverage. Here in Wyoming, we have 2 centers, one here in Capital City and one on the west side of Wyoming. And they are asking to be compensated for their services for birthing centers. They provide births for women at a substantial reduction in price to our hospitals. So by providing them with Medicaid payments for their birthing center services, it'll help reduce costs to our state and benefit them. It's just such a simple bill. If you want more information, I'll give it to you, but I'd ask that you pass it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any questions, any discussion? Yes, Senator Office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you talk a little bit about the licensure and who is eligible to provide services at a birthing center? I'm not familiar with all of the qualifications. I assume there are some.
Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is, we'll step back just a minute. So midwives, there's 2 birthing centers here in our state that do allow for, that midwives have. Currently, we will reimburse for the midwife for their services, and these are, I'm not sure about the one, but the other is a licensed facility through the state. And I would have to get back to you on, I believe these are the certified midwives that are running these clinics, but I would have to get back to you. It can get really confusing on the different levels of midwifery. What this bill is doing though, we reimburse those midwifery fees. However, what we don't reimburse is the services provided by the birthing center. So it would be like if a patient went into the hospital, has a baby, we are gonna reimburse both the physician or physicians and the hospital for those services. So with this bill, what we're doing is we're just reimbursing that birthing center just like we would the hospital for their fees. It would be a reduced cost though to the state because those fees for the birthing centers are gonna be about 70 to 80% of what we would reimburse the hospitals. So this is, I hope that clarifies.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Wyoming Statute 352901, which is referenced in the bill, a birthing center means a facility which operates for the primary purpose of performing deliveries and is not part of a hospital. It's under licensing and operations in our Hospitals, Care, and Facilities Act. And so without reading the whole act quickly, it's my assumption that based on its definition and requirement to have that label, it is a licensed facility. And kind of adding further protections, I think Medicaid requirements in order to be eligible will require additional certifications and licensure associated for the reimbursement of that at the federal level.
Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I guess I would have a question on, I have a person up in my area, midwife. So is this affect that person in any way? Or does that person have to be tied to the birthing center somehow?
Senator Cole.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question about cost. It's indeterminable. How does it work when it comes to this? Because I wholly admit I will never have a child myself. But I wanted to know just the money, how it would flow through the system and what the changes would be by moving this bill forward. So fiscally, what does it mean? The big picture. Is the state more liable? Are we liable for something we can't get out of in the future, which I hear happens in some circumstances? But mostly just how would the money flow? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of along the same lines as the good senator from Rock Springs. Does this expand Medicaid expenditure? That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, what this bill does is authorize the Medicaid payment to these institutions. They're properly licensed. It'd be just like any other Medicaid provider. They bill, they get paid according to the Medicaid regulations. And the Medicaid sets the fee that they're willing to pay. So it's essentially very much like your hospital was doing it, except that the fee is different. So once it's eligible, and there's no liability carrying over from anything they do. It's a set fee, and the testimony we had in committee was that they did not need an appropriation. We asked them specifically. They said because it would be cheaper than a hospital, they thought they were going to save enough money from people going to these birthing centers instead of a hospital to, so they would actually wind up saving the state a little money, maybe. But it will be, in Medicaid terms, a drop in the bucket.
Senator Hutchins.
Just quickly, stacking on what the good senator said before me, the hospital, Department of Health told us that an average cost for delivery was $7,000 to $8,000, and that going to these birthing centers would save us about 70% of that. Thank you.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I think to explain the fiscal note, are two pieces to explain the fiscal note. If you read the fiscal note carefully, it says there is the potential for an indeterminable expenditure decrease related to the diversion from hospital births due to the lack of information about potential utilization. So these fiscal notes, right, I'm really frustrated with them because the agencies really don't know how to fill them out at times. But what that's really trying to tell us is our hospitals may suffer a loss where there's a location of a birthing center because the Medicaid compensation that they would receive from doing that birth may be less if the mother goes to a birthing center. This bill is authorizing the birthing center to receive the Medicaid funds, which as a result of it being a birthing center as opposed to a hospital, will cost less. And so the expenditure, the actual Medicaid funds expenditure, which are federal funds, right, will be less at the birthing center than at your local hospital. But there could be a loss at the local hospital of revenue from a reduction in the amount of births taking place at that local county hospital as a result of the influx of mothers going to these birthing centers, which is highly unlikely that there would be any significant impact, particularly when we're talking about Medicaid reimbursement rates for births. So I think that fiscal note's very confusing. But this bill, for those of you concerned about taxpayer dollars and Medicaid funds, has the high potential of reducing those funds being appropriated because they would be used at birthing centers, which are more affordable and require less Medicaid monies.
Any other discussion? Senator Brennan?
Thank you. I think that, well, I appreciate that explanation because that clears up, I hope, a lot of questions. I do want to address that question of, does it affect a midwife in your community? This does not affect or have anything to do with the midwife who does home deliveries. This has to do with the services provided by the birthing center. So think of it as the facility, like kind of payment portion of that, which is a part of what the hospitals get when somebody goes into the hospital. This is not expansion of Medicaid. This is just the dollars going elsewhere that could potentially be less.
Senator Scott.
And, Mr. Chairman, I think it is, now, I find these fiscal notes are often, all you can tell is whether the agency is for or against the bill. You often don't get much real information. But, Mr. Chairman, in this case, I think a savings is quite likely because the second birthing center is in Evanston, where they just had to close down the hospital. So I think people will use that rather than go to some other place. And there will be some diversion from hospital care because it's no longer available in that community.
All right, further discussion. Further discussion. All right, all those in favor of Senator Brennan's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report that it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 4 do pass, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. House Bill 4 has passed the committee of the whole. The next bill for consideration is House Bill 5. The reading clerk will please read the bill.
House Bill 5, Oil and Gas Bonding Pool Investment and Earnings, an act relating to oil and gas sponsored by Minerals, referred to Senate Committee Number 9. Voting aye, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss. Signed, Senator Anderson, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Senator Anderson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it reports
do pass on House Bill 5, oil and gas bonding pool investment and earnings. And I have a expert on the subject, Senator Cooper.
Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of you remember a year ago, we passed this oil and gas bonding pool legislation. We're about 45 days probably from this thing actually coming into effect. One of the things we missed when we did that was directing the state treasurer what to do with those funds. So this is just a simple one-line bill here that says the state treasurer shall invest funds collected under this paragraph in accordance with state law, and all investment earnings shall be deposited in the separate account established under the statute. Funds collected and investment earnings deposited under this paragraph shall only be expended for bonding pool established under this paragraph. So we're just directing the treasurer to invest the funds, and the funds can only be used to add to the bonding pool. So pretty straight up deal, but just a simple correction to the legislation we passed last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cooper. Any discussion on this House bill? All right, question being called. All those in favor of Senator Anderson's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report that it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 5 do pass, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. House Bill 5 has passed the committee of the whole. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee of the whole rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. That motion does pass. Mr. President. Committee of the whole report.
Mr. President, your committee of the whole, having under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 4 do pass. House Bill 5 do pass. Senator Olson, Chairman.
Senator Olson. Mr. President, I move the adoption of the committee of the whole report. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Whale of a job, Senator Olson. We might have you back. Committee of the whole report has been adopted. All right, Madam Majority Floor Leader, with that clears the desk.
Yeah. Senators, we will caucus tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. in room W110, assuming that's available. If not, we'll be in the room across the hall, hoping it's available. But we will caucus at 9:30 a.m. It's that time of order of business for Senate appointments, confirmations, and so we will be doing that in the morning. Again, we'll only set aside about 30 minutes so we can be up here about 10. So I know many of you have committee meetings in the morning, but it seemed like the lunch hour had more busy schedules for committee meetings. So tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., we will meet in room W110 to have a full Senate caucus. Other than that, Mr. President, I move that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 24th.
All right, any announcements? Senator Ide, I guess. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Ag, State, and Federal Lands and Water Resources Committee number 5 will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. to discuss House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program, and House Bill 87, Omnibus Water Bill Planning. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Olson. Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee number 1, Judiciary, will meet tomorrow upon noon recess to consider 3 House bills. House Bill 8, Stalking of Minors, House Bill 9, Grooming of Children Offenses and Amendments, and House Bill 28, Sexual Exploitation of Children Amendments.
Thank you.
And we're going to be meeting in 002. All right, thank you, sir. Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're just a little heads up out in front for the Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Committee. We're going to hold House Bill 19 engrossed, the corner crossing clarification bill, over until Thursday. Thursday morning at 8 a.m. is when we'll take up that bill. Just want to let everybody know.
Thank you for the heads up. Chairman Landon? Chairman McEwen?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Joint Revenue Committee will meet tomorrow upon adjournment to discuss interim topics. Bob, that's tomorrow after adjournment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Appropriations Committee will be meeting upon noon recess in E202. We'll be taking up HB 36, Forestry Division Wildland Fire Modules, HB 112, Riverton State Office Task Force Sunset, HB 106, Smoke Buster Module Leaders, and finally, HB 111, State-Funded Capital Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Any other announcements? Oh, Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Too busy making fun of Bob to realize it's not tomorrow, it's next Tuesday, March 3rd. Thank you, Mr. President.
Duly noted. Thank you, sir. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, you've all heard the majority floor leader's motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion has been adopted. The Senate shall stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.